So first off, I just want to say, as the daughter of immigrants, as a millennial, I felt so seen in this movie because I too, as a teenager, wanted to have 3 children with Leonardo DiCaprio. So
Absolutely.
Thank you. Representation matters.
Representation does matter. We're all there in those MASH streets doing the most.
Absolutely. So tell me, you're all co-writers on this. How did that, high five. Yes. How did that collaboration come about? How did this relationship come about?
No, you, after you. No.
Neil Patel is the original writer. So he was the original writer, and I think he sent his script to Lilly. So I'll let you take it.
Yeah, 7 years ago he sent me the script.
7 years
Seven years ago. And it was pretty different than what you just saw. But I remember reading it and being like, little Lily couldn't even fathom a sex comedy with a South Asian person in it. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy to even think about. And when I read it, I was like, if I had this as a kid, I would have felt so less awkward and so much more comfortable in this department, because I've been awkward with sex my whole life. And so I was like, this would have really like saved me some therapy money if this existed back in the day. And so just that premise alone of like creating something, because, I love this genre. I grew up with 40-Year-Old Virgin and American Pie and all those stories we love, but they all kind of look the same, and they're pretty male-centric. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we flipped the script a little bit and tried to normalize this topic within the South Asian community and other minority groups? And so we brought Sara on board because I really thought another woman of color would really feel the same way about it. And so then she, started writing as well.
Yeah, and I was, when I read it, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I've never seen this from a diverse background. I have an Iranian heritage. So I was like, and I grew up on those movies, Superbad. I had Adam Sandler, I like Seth Rogen movies. So I saw all the like raunchy sex comedies through the male perspective. And I thought it'd be really interesting to see it with Lilly as a starring role, because it was like, that was my first instinct when I saw it. I was like, I've just never seen anything like this. And picturing Lilly in it was super exciting. And I was like immediately like, let's go. Let's do this.
So then those initial meetings, was it just like, I don't know, trauma bonding?
Sure. Like, it's still trauma bonding. That's all this whole experience has been.
This whole thing is going to be trauma bonding.
You think this is a movie? This is a documentary. This is straight up. This is just my therapy sessions transcribed into a script. This is pure trauma. This is turning trauma into art 100%. We bond on this all the time. And I think Neil does as well. The fact that we were all raised in environments where we never got the talk. We never really had sex ed. If we did have sex ed, it was really straight. And it was really about like body parts and STDs, and it would never actually taught us anything that made us feel more comfortable or safe or confident in this arena, So,
well, you both mentioned about how not having that representation on screen in this genre, that wasn't a thing when certainly wasn't when I was growing up. So, because when we think of raunchy comedies, sex comedies, I mean, we see so few women, we don't see women of color, but I think that's changing. So what do you think of what made this the right time to put Doin It out?
Well, I think unfortunately for us, it's always the right time for stories that empower women and women of color, because for as long as I can remember, people have been like, nope, you can't do it. And so I feel like any time over the past decade would have been the right time, and any time, you know what I mean? Because it's kind of, unfortunately, for a long time, people have not empowered women in this department. But I think, why I think it's the right time is I felt like this. So this is my production company's first film as well. And I found,
congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I finally felt like I was at a place that I had enough resources, that I'd had enough just education experience in my life to put something like this together. Because this is an indie movie, and y'all, indie movies are hard. And you really need a good team around you. You really need the right resources. You really need like a little bit of know-how on how to do it. So I think the timing of things in my life just lined up very well to make this movie happen. But thematically, I don't know. I feel like, isn't there always a war on women? You know what I mean? And I just feel like this conversation is so prime. I feel like women's rights are regressing. I feel like there's definitely an attack on anything DEI right now. And so I feel like what better time than right now for this, for sure.
Check all those boxes.
Also, Is this real water?
It is.
It's so fancy.
It is.
This is where all of our fees go. You see this? There's a still. Can I drink this? Is that okay?
It's already it's pre-opened.
Is it pre-open?
Yes.
Oh my God. Whose job is that? The water opener? You did that? God bless. Sorry, you're gonna have to continue answering while I drink some of this free water.
Well, I mean, to echo Lilly, yeah, I think part of our job as filmmakers also is to break the mold. Despite the cultural, political climate, it's part of it is breaking the mold and representing something on screen that people haven't seen before that is authentic. And so that's always, there's never going to be like a right time to break the mold. The time is like always to try and do that. And I think, with representation right now, yes, this is counter programming with what's happening in the country. But, we have to keep going. We have to keep representing authentic experiences and representing different voices.
Can I go on a brief tangent?
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
It's a kind of adjacent to your question, but not your exact question. But
No,
I think
please.
worthwhile saying. Is that
No.
okay?
Yes.
So you're talking about representation and also the fact that it's, there's a lot of women and there's a lot of representation in this movie. I'll tell you what 2 active choices I made when writing this movie. And I don't know, you've heard me say this a million times, but I think it's worthwhile to say, which is we were both adamant about one thing, which is we've seen the trope very often of anytime there's been a South Asian person on screen, their love interest is white. And I'm not throwing that trope under the bus. I know why it happens. I know that's how execs greenlight things. I know that they pressured into those decisions. So I'm not at all throwing any of that under the bus. However, we were very adamant that Alex in this movie would be another Asian person. For that reason, I was like, there'll be 2 Asian people because any other big studio movie that needs to be greenlit, they just can't comprehend 2 Asian people. They're like, one of them has to be white then, right? To balance it out. Like, it just has to be the case. And I was like, no, it'll be 2 Asian people. In fact, I'm proud to say and I didn't realize this until someone pointed out that every single couple is a biracial couple in this film. There's not a single one that's not, which is very cool. And the second thing I'll say is, like I mentioned, I grew up with American Pie and, 40-Year-Old Virgins. And most films in this genre are very male-centric. And the female characters are just there to service the male characters and push the story forward by being very accommodating and not being super complex. And so when I submitted the almost final draft of the script to some execs, I got a note back that was, the Alex character is a little one-dimensional and we think you should flesh him out a little bit. And I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm actually good. I actually think it's completely fine because I was like, this movie is about the women and the complex women. And so you'll notice in some scenes, Alex is just completely accommodating to Maya. They're at the spring thing. He's like, I'll have sex. I won't have sex. Whatever you want, I'll accommodate. What, you can step away from me. It's cool. And it's just like, absolutely. You just be there to service Maya. And that was such an intentional thing because I'm like, we've seen that before. And it's to level the playing field a little bit. I'm like, this one's about the women. It's for the women, this one.
He can just be eye candy.
100%.
He can be set dressing.
You know what I'm saying, Alex? You just wear those gray sweatpants and you just accommodate. Okay. 100
P. I am all for that note. Switching from a craft perspective now, when it comes to the sexy scenes, the raunchy scenes, Lily, let's start with you. Like, how do you prepare for that? And then Sara, like, what do those conversations look like, between the two of you behind the scenes?
Yeah, I won't lie. So this is my first feature. And I was like, I'm just going to make it a sex comedy and we'll just have a lot of intimate scenes and just go for it. Of course, it's a very nerve-wracking thing to do. The scenes with someone else were a little more comfortable because I had someone else to play off of, but I was particularly nervous about the 2 masturbation scenes, especially the one that is a success. I was like, I'll let Sara speak to the protocols on set that make it comfortable, but I was like, okay, listen, I'll be real with y'all. I practiced. I did practice the day before. I was like, okay, let me practice.
Well, now I have all these questions about props.
Yeah, she's a method actress. I was like, let me practice. Because one thing I was very adamant on is that I think most times when we see female orgasm on screen, it's very much so for the male gaze. It's very much so over the top. And I was like, I want it to be very grounded. I want it to be based in like reality, which is why I said Container Store, because that's real. That's real. And my poor assistant, it's hard. I'm going to tell you right now, it's hard to keep things HR when you're shooting a sex comedy. I'll just keep it 100 with you. My assistant was tasked to send me every clip of a female orgasming on screen. And so you can imagine what our search history looks like.
Just
send me examples of how this has been portrayed on screen before. And yeah, it was just a lot of me committing and leaning in and being true to whatever that experience is for me. And the number one thing was just do not make it the version that's for the male gaze. Just make it true to yourself. So yeah, it did take a lot of me stepping out of my comfort zone, and it took a few takes to get there. But I think ultimately when I watched it, I'm like, I like how grounded this is.
The key is Container Store is what.
Come on,
yeah.
There was a long list of alts there as well. I'll tell you. You want to know which one didn't get cleared? Should I tell you the exclusive?
Yes.
Okay.
T.
idiotic. But the first thing I actually say when I before the Container Store is actually, Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. But they didn't clear it. Can you believe that? I was like, which idiotic marketing team would not want a woman masturbating to their product? For real? For real? A loss on their part, I think.
That could have been a collab.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Have you seen Mr. Clean? I mean, we're all thinking it. You know what I mean?
It's the earring.
It's the
right?
earring. He's like all buff. He cleans. What's there not to like? You know?
There was a whole visual. He winked at Lily.
I know.
They made us take it out.
It's
That's
tragic.
fine.
Tragic.
I will say I love intimacy coordinators. I think it's so great that that's kind of the norm on set now. I know some actors I find are kind of mixed about intimacy coordinators. Some of them like them, some of them don't. So I kind of like see which actors, what they need. I think every actor has their own kind of way they work and like how they want to be directed, what they require. But I feel like they are so great to have on set. I mean, both because they normalize consent, they normalize communication, they normalize like collaboration, and it becomes more of like coordinating a dance sequence. So I think it just adds so much, and I love them. And we had a really good one on this one.
And I will even say, like at my 20th intimacy scene, I was like, oh, I feel really comfortable. I don't know if I need this person, but I like what Sara said because I still wanted them there just to facilitate the conversation in case there was ever anything where I was like, I feel this type of way. Sometimes it's tough to say it directly to the person you're acting with. So it's nice to have a person that you can go to that is like the safe space. And I'm a very pragmatic person that's very type A, hence Container Store. And so I feel like I like the pragmaticness of like, okay, this scene's gonna happen and this is where you'll touch and this is what will happen. It's kind of like a choreographed dance, like you said. I think there's some safety in that.
So then when you're directing, Sara, I guess you're not talking through the intimacy coordinator, but you are all having like...
It's a collaboration.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're there, kind of, they're making suggestions about the choreography. And then the DP and I are sort of trying to, coordinate the camera around that choreography. So it just becomes a collaboration, and it's really fun. And I think the actors, it makes them feel more comfortable.
And it was really sick because it's a close set for any intimacy scene. It's a really, really small crew. They even turn off the monitors. So it's like a really safe environment, as safe as it could be while you're doing a masturbation scene. There's no one immediately in my peripheral. It's like not many people talking. So it was as comfortable as it could possibly be.
One of the themes that I think is so interesting in the movie is this, taking out the shame of talking about this stuff, addressing taboo. And we were talking backstage about, that also comes with the communities we come from. It comes from if you're like first generation, children of immigrants. And so I wanted to ask about what it was like, not apart from the sex stuff, but I think there's like a little bit of a taboo of wanting to go into entertainment when you come from these communities, and you go, I don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. So talk to me a little bit about that taboo and like how your community, family, friends took that you wanted to sort of carve your own paths in creative industries.
I mean, my parents were worried when I told them I wanted to become a filmmaker and go to film school and become a director. They were more worried about the instability because as immigrants, they've gone through so much instability. And so they're hoping you'll choose a profession that will give you that, a stability that we didn't have. But, in Iranian culture, film is such a vital art form. Like I'd say film and poetry are such vital art forms in our culture. They're such film buffs. I mean, when I went to Iran, I couldn't believe how into film and movies people are, and both commercial movies and high art. Like at the festivals, there's always, Iranian films that are sweeping awards. So it's a really respected craft. I mean, they didn't think I'd be making movies like this. I think they were like they didn't think I'd be going into like the rom-com space, because this is kind of my third rom-com kind of movie. But I think they were cool. I mean, they came around, and it is a respected craft in our culture. So they were just more worried about the unstable, financial path.
My dad still thinks I could be a lawyer till this day.
There's still hope.
Still hope. There's still hope. No, when I think it's exactly what Sara said as well. My parents they don't have an issue with the entertainment industry. They have an issue with lack of stability. And when we talk about representation, this is the biggest issue. Is we always say you have to see it to believe it. So do our parents. They did not see people like us on screen. So for them, they're like, well, I've never seen someone like you on screen. I'm worried about you surviving. How can I believe that you'll get on screen when no one else? And that's why these things are so important, because that's a version of representation we don't think about often. The reason we don't see many of us on screen is because we're still paving that path. And I think the more we do see on screen, the more okay parents will become. And I know this because a lot of my younger fans will come up to me and be like, I actually got into entertainment because of you. Or parents will come up to me and be like, I was so stressed about it, but then I saw you. So for parents, it's also important to see that representation. And I'll just say it's so important because of course you want diversity on and off camera, in front of the camera and behind the camera, but I will say it's in some departments still tough to find it because parents don't let their kids do that stuff. And so I always try to explain to parents, like, you gotta support your kids being part of the arts because that's how we're gonna have more diversity in all of this. But I understand, I've never felt any resentment towards my parents for that, because it was never, we don't believe in your talent and we don't want you to do this thing that you enjoy. It was always, will you be able to eat food? Will you survive? Will you be able to pay rent? And those concerns were very valid if you didn't ever see someone that looked like me on screen,
It's it's also, I think, how they express care is this survivalist.
Through their own twisted, messed up way. Through therapy, I have learned that is their way of saying I love you.
100% can identify. How do you stay creative between projects?
I mean, I'm a writer and a director, so I just write. Like right now, the industry is very slow, so I write every day. I have a writing routine.
Do you really?
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
I have 2 writing blocks every day, uninterrupted. But it is hard. I also have a toddler right now, so I'm like momming for the first time. And
I have a toddler too.
Yes.
Isn't that fun?
yes, totally.
Yeah.
He gave me a black eye right before the premiere with his head.
Really?
Yeah, he had. We were like horsing around, and he hit me in the head. It was it's wild, like because it is juggling both of those jobs,
Like having a zoo animal in your
yes.
house. Yeah.
But writing, it's a feral animal in your house. But I love, I mean, I just writing. I mean, I just wrote a script that I've been trying to write for 10 years about my childhood. I'm writing another rom-com. Just, I think it really is the best way for artists to continue to work is just write.
Wow, I'm so inspired by that. I didn't know that. That's very lovely. I think I view creativity as a way of life, to be honest. I think I infuse creativity into almost everything I do. And so, yes, if I'm writing, I'm creative, but also like when I'm planning a party, I'm creative. When I am sending an email, I try to be witty. When I'm like conflict resolutioning with a friend, I try to be creative. I think in everything I do, I'm always thinking about like, is there a different way to do this? Is there a better way to do this? Is there a more outside of the box way to do this? I think that's generally how I approach most things in life. So I don't ever feel like I'm not being creative, to be honest. And if I ever wanted to really intentionally step into a very specific moment of creativity, I do 2 things. One is I schedule inspiration. I'm a big believer of scheduling
inspiration.
Yes, I know
Okay, wait, tell me
inspiration
more.
strikes and you're like, oh, that inspired me. That movie inspired me, yada, yada. But if I'm ever feeling down, I'll schedule inspiration. I'll go watch something. I'll go to like a Broadway show. I'll like go see something I've never seen before, go to a class I just do something that's very outside my wheelhouse just to be like, can I reset something in here and can I be the things that I know inspire me. For example, I know a Broadway show after it, I'm always like, oh, I love this made me think of 100, so I'll like schedule that every once in a while. And the second thing is I do believe, this quote, only boring people get bored. I do believe it's important to be bored sometimes. I do think my best ideas come from if I'm ever in a blank space. If I'm ever like, I have no work to do today, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. I feel like the best ideas happen during those times. So I think I'll intentionally make my schedule sometimes one that I can get a little bored. So there's space for new ideas to come in.
I love that. I love scheduling inspiration.
Yeah.
What a great way to have an excuse to like watch something and get out there.
Absolutely.
We have a couple questions from the audience.
All right, let's do it.
First one is from Dean. I think we're going to take the second question here is, were there shows or films that influenced the tone you were going for?
The tone question, take it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many movies. 40-Year-Old Virgin, definitely. School of Rock. We watched a lot of substitute teacher movies.
Easy A.
Easy A. I think Superbad to some extent. And there's one I'm blanking on that we always bring up. It's not what's the other one? I can't remember right now.
Yeah,
but yeah, and Never Have I Ever. We looked
yeah,
at
of course,
TV
of course,
shows.
yes.
We looked at Fleabag for the breaking the fourth wall. Ferris Bueller for me was like an old throwback because I love that movie. It's really ingrained in my adolescence, and that was one of the reasons I wanted Lily to break the fourth wall, was kind of an homage to Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
This one is for Lily. This comes from Genesis. Hi, love your work. What were the pros and cons of expanding outside of YouTube?
Oh, the pro is that I grew up with movie stars, and so there's still a desire for me. Like, it feels really exciting to me to step into a medium, and going to a theater to see my movie. I'm gonna go watch it by myself tomorrow in theaters. Truly, I just love the idea of my movie being in theaters because I grew up and my best memories are going to a movie theater. And so for me, that's a huge pro to be like, I'm not of the social, though I came up on social media, I was not of the generation born on social media. So I have a distinction between like movie stars and influencers, which I don't think exists anymore, to be honest. So that's a huge pro. Collaboration is a huge pro. When I was on YouTube, I did everything myself for the most part, but I think there's great value in collaborating with other people. The cons... there's a few. When you do everything yourself, for YouTube, I was the writer's room, I was the director, I was the legal, I was everything. I decided what was funny, what wasn't, and I decided what the tone of everything was going to be, and it went up. And so a hard thing for me is letting go of control when I'm on a set, which poor Sara probably knows. But I think it's there's just so many hurdles, like the Mr. Clean thing not getting cleared. You know how expensive music is? Like a song is like $100,000. It's crazy. There's so many hurdles when it comes to filmmaking. And as an artist, I'm just kind of like, I just want to tell the joke. The joke I want that I think is funny, I want that joke to be up there. And you're telling me all these hurdles of why that can't happen. and that's really tough for me. I'm also like, I've had a certain rhythm to my comedy for a decade making my own videos, and so when you're being directed by someone else and you're working with other actors and you're dealing with a longer story arc and a lot longer character arc, like some of that stuff has to be sacrificed. So more than anything, it's just like a huge learning curve for me.
This question is from Ashby, and it's for Lily, but I think Sara, you could weigh in here too. Is tell me the toughest part about being a female boss, and then tell me the best part.
The worst thing? How honest are we gonna be here? I don't know. What evaluating?
It's a safe space.
Very honest. It's your question.
We're gonna be very honest.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's a safe space.
Okay.
Safe space.
Work. The best thing and the worst thing. Okay. The best thing is that I believe, actually, this is not my opinion, this is factually correct, that women are more empathetic leaders. That is just factually correct. I think the way we lead makes people feel seen and makes them feel good. And I think Sara will attest to the fact that my internal team did a lot of heavy lifting for the release of this movie. My own team did the social strategy. We shot the key art in my garage. My own team put together the premiere. And I think they're so invested in this movie and they work so hard on it because I would like to believe that they really respect the way I lead. I think that female leaders they have the skill set and qualifications to be great leaders. And I think if more women led countries, there would be factually less war and less chaos in the world. And that is not my opinion. That is a fact. Another best part is that I think, like I said, you have to see it to believe it. And I think the impact of seeing a female leader has a massive ripple effect for other young girls. I think truly the amount of young girls that have come up to me and said, I believe I can do this because I saw you, is the best part of my job, for sure. Now on to the worst, of which there's many, 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 many. I don't know how to say this without sounding like an asshole. So I hold some space and nobody record this. But I think people talk about this online a lot, and I didn't know if it was going to be true. And from my experience thus far, I really do feel like not all. I'm honestly, there's a few. There's definitely men I feel like are really allowed to be mediocre. Throughout this entire process, I've busted my ass to make this movie come to life, as I'm sure Sara has as well. I've worn so many hats. I've put in my own money. I have put in my own team. Like I've put just literally my sanity into this movie and so much into it. And along the way, every step of the way, there's been multiple men that are just so okay with doing the bare minimum. And then
there's a deep sigh among the audience.
I need to emphasize this: not all men. I'm not trying to be that person. But I'm just gonna say I've just met so many men who are jump on a Zoom with me and have the audacity to meet this energy with mid energy. And
How dare!
And I don't even mean that to be cocky. I'm more so just like, you are disrespecting this project. You are disrespecting every person that has worked on this project. And the reason is because you are spoiled for projects. You can list 100,000 movies where you see yourself in, and this is the one I'm trying to get made. And you don't get why it's important. And so you come here with your mid-energy, with your emails that have no punctuation, and you send them into my inbox.
Not even a hi,
Not even
Lily.
nothing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I have a hard time with that because I know if I sent an email like that, there would be consequences to pay. I would not get a job again. People would judge me harshly. And just every step of the way, I've just seen people be praised for being mediocre. I'm like, this guy right here that's doing bare minimum is probably going to get a raise. He's probably going to get a raise. Like, and that has driven me crazy, to be honest, because I'm just like, wow, I have to work 10 times as hard and you don't. And we're going to be just right here on the same Zoom. You know what I mean? I don't know, maybe that was too honest, but that's literally the worst part.
But the more projects that we see like this and the more people who are inspired by what you all are doing is how we change that game. It's how you change that game. And so you can be mediocre one day too.
my literally in therapy, all I talk about is like, one day I just want to be mediocre. I just want to know what that feels like to be mediocre.
I just want the B-. And
yes.
Yeah, right?
100%. And not only that, I'll tell you sorry to make this a therapy session, the second part of why that's the worst thing is there's been moments where I've wanted to call it out and I have not been able to because like I would be probably shunned. It would be like, she's so ungrateful. It's because the person has some power over the movie and has some approval. So I can't even be like, what you're doing is whack. And that drives me crazy because the way to fix it is also to call it out. But we're not always in the position to call it out, which is really, really a tough position to be in. You know, they really weaponize gratitude against you if you're a minority. Like, you should be grateful. Like, don't
be in the room.
Just to be in the room.
Yeah.
So I've really had to reconcile with, like, I kid you not, I've had 1 hour therapy sessions about, can you believe I did not punk his shit when he said this to me? Like, can you believe that I've had to literally, like, this movie needs to pay for my therapy. Like, it's real. It's real. It's real. Was that too honest? You say something. No, I don't know.
I mean, I totally agree. I feel like you really said it best. I feel like women, you know, the positive thing is I do think, especially, I mean, I'm in the DGA. We're 10-15% of the guild. That number hasn't moved in like 30 years. I don't know why, because in film school, women are 50-60%, and then it doesn't translate into the industry. And I feel like, you know, actors always say like I feel like when I'm directing a movie, I feel like we're meant to direct movies because of the empathy thing. And, you know, I feel like women, I don't mean to generalize because I know a lot of great male directors who are also very empathic, but I feel like there's a level of care and safety. Like, you're so worried about people's safety. And I think that actors really feel that on a more matriarchal set. And I really also concur, like, that would really translate into politics. I feel like if there were more female-led governments, we would not have this much violence and war. I think women would be ruling from a place of peace and not domination. But the negative thing is you're just not the norm. When you walk into the room, you're seen as a threat. Who's this person taking my job? You look like a disruptor of the status quo because, I mean, men don't want to relinquish power, you know? And it's hard. You feel that when you walk into a room.
I will say, if men allies here, which it looks like there's many, I would say truly, like, when you see it going down, like call it out. It's easier for you to call out than us. I'll tell you that right now. And I will give all praise to like my manager, who is an incredible male white ally, amazing. And he has just, there's been many times when he's been like, okay, just so we're clear, we're not going to use that tone with Lily. Like, we're not going to, he has called it because it's easier for him to do. And I know I will be shunned way more if I do it. And so I would just say, like, if you see it, you got to come on, do your part and call it out a little bit. Because
I also say, like, my biggest opportunities were from male allies as well.
Y'all, we need you. We need you. We need you.
And on that note, I mean, I just want to say that I'm super appreciative of what you all are doing with this movie, and just glad that it exists, that this story exists, that it's going to find the little Lillys and Saras and Audreys out there who need to see this kind of representation.
Thank you. I'll also say, because I know you're all like film nerds here, who has Letterboxd? Really? Only 4 or 5
hands.
people? Okay.
No, there's no.
Sorry, you guys are quiet.
And up in
quiet,
the sound booth.
Quiet. I mean, listen, whether you liked it, didn't like it, whatever, I would love for you to put a Letterboxd review up there just so we can get some traction going on that thing. I have an alias on there and I like to lurk. So I like to lurk into the stuff. Even some of the mean ones are really funny.
I have learned so much about you.
Oh yeah. No, I lurk. And I would love a Letterboxd review because I like to be humbled continuously by strangers online. It's my favorite pastime. Yeah. One of them was, why do people keep giving Lilly Singh opportunities to be funny? She's not. Yeah.
There were no laughs in this, clearly. Nobody laughed.
It's okay. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Lily, Sara, thank you so much for being here
Thank
tonight.
you so much. Thank you, all of you. Appreciate you. I'm taking this water. I'm taking it.